Yo, what's going on, Kavis Reacts? This is your boy, Kavis, man. We're back with another video. Today, we got the scariest defense in college football history. As y'all can see, we got Miami with Ed Reed. Man, we finna get into this video. This is a live reaction. It's our first time watching this video. Make sure y'all hit that subscribe button because we is on the road to 100. Make sure y'all go to Kavis TV and subscribe. And subscribe to your boy channel over there, man. I apologize for that. But yeah, man, let's get into this video, man.
Don't ask me if I'm alright. Hell no. Joaquin said dominate, and we not doing it. I'm putting my heart in this, dog.
In the fall of 2001, opposing offensive coordinators weren't sleeping right. Not because of a trick play they couldn't solve, not because of a scheme they couldn't crack. Because of a roster, one defense, one team, 17 future NFL draft picks on a single side of the ball.
Dang.
2 Super Bowl champions, a Defensive Player of the Year, a Hall of Fame safety who was so terrifying, opposing quarterbacks would look him up on film just to know which side of the field not to throw to. This wasn't just a good college defense. This was a defense that outscored some opponents by itself. A defense that made the eventual national champions look like they were playing keep away with a group of grown men against a middle school team. This is the story of the 2001 Miami Hurricanes defense and why, over 2 decades later, nobody has ever built anything like it again. Let's set the scene. Miami football in 2001 wasn't some Cinderella story. The U had been the boogeyman of college football since the 1980s. Swagger, turnover chains before turnover chains were cool, and a pipeline that seemed to manufacture NFL talent out of thin air. But even by Miami standards, the 2001 roster was absurd. This team would eventually produce over 40 total NFL draft picks across multiple recruiting classes stacked together. Head coach Larry Coker inherited a program from Butch Davis that was already loaded, and the result was a roster so deep that future first-round picks were coming off the bench. The offense got most of the pub. Ken Dorsey at quarterback, a running back room that included Clinton Portis, Frank Gore, and Willis McGahee at the same time, Jeremy Shockey at tight end, Andre Johnson at receiver, but it was the defense that made this team a legend. Let's just run through who was actually on this unit, because the list sounds fake. At safety, Ed Reed. Not just good, a generational ball hawk who would go on to become a Hall of Famer and one of the greatest defensive backs in NFL history. In 2001 alone, Reed set a Miami single-season record with 9 interceptions, 9 in one season of college football. Lining up nearby, a true freshman getting early reps, Sean Taylor. Within a couple years, he'd be a consensus All-American.
Oh my God. If I got it wrong, did they just have Ed Reed and Sean Taylor?
5 NFL draft pick, one of the most feared hitters the league has ever seen. On the interior of the defensive line, Vince Wilfork, an eventual 2-time Super Bowl champion and one of the best nose tackles of his generation, occupying blockers like a boulder in the middle of the field. At linebacker, Jonathan Vilma, who would go on to be a first-round pick and NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, alongside DJ Williams, another future first-rounder. In the secondary, cornerback Philip Buchanan, a future first-round pick himself, and safety Mike Rumph, also a future first-round pick. Read that back. On one college defense in one single season, there were multiple future first-round NFL draft picks at nearly every level: line, linebacker, and secondary. This wasn't a unit with 1 or 2 stars carrying everybody else. This was a defense where the depth chart looked like an NFL Pro Bowl roster. Okay, so the names are ridiculous, but did the production match the hype? This is where it gets scary. Miami finished the 2001 regular season 11-0 and capped it off with a national championship win, going 12-0 overall. The defense was the backbone of nearly every one of those wins. They didn't just beat teams, they suffocated them. Opposing offenses that were averaging 30-plus points a game against everyone else would come to Miami and manage single digits. Turnovers weren't occasional. They were expected. Ed Reed alone was single-handedly flipping field position and momentum multiple times a game. And it wasn't a prevent defense once there were a big situation either. This defense set the tone from the opening snap. Quarterbacks across the Big East and top non-conference opponents were getting rattled before halftime, throwing into coverage they had no business throwing into because the corners and safeties were fast enough and smart enough to bake mistakes. By the time Miami reached its biggest test of the year, the national championship game against a Nebraska team that had steamrolled its way to the title game, most college football fans already understood what they were about to watch. The Rose Bowl, January 3rd, 2002. Miami versus Nebraska for the national championship. Nebraska came in with one of the most dominant option-based rushing attacks in the country, a physical, bruising offense that had bulldozed nearly every team on its schedule. It didn't matter. Miami's defense didn't just beat Nebraska, they dismantled them. The final score was 37-14, but that scoreline doesn't even capture how one-sided it actually was. Miami's defense forced multiple turnovers, and Nebraska, a team built on physicality and ball control, looked like they'd never seen speed like this before. Every time the Huskers tried to establish rhythm on the ground, Miami's front seven was already in the backfield. Every time Nebraska's quarterback looked downfield, Ed Reed and the secondary were sitting on the route before the ball even left his hand. Here's what makes this defense different from just a great college unit that won a title. It's what happened after. Ed Reed became a first-ballot Hall of Famer. Sean Taylor became one of the most feared defensive players in the NFL before his life was tragically cut short in 2007. Vince Wilfork became a two-time Super Bowl champion and a fixture on elite Patriots defenses for over a decade. Jonathan Vilma became a Pro Bowl linebacker and a Super Bowl champion with the Saints. Philip Buchanan and Mike Rumph both heard their names called in the first round of the NFL draft. Think about that. This wasn't a defense that peaked in college and faded. This was a defense where the majority of its top playmakers went on to have real, sustained, decorated NFL careers. Multiple Super Bowl rings, a Hall of Fame bust, Pro Bowl selections spread across nearly a decade of NFL football. That's the separator. Lots of college teams have had one or two future superstars on defense. Very few, arguably none, have had this level of sustained, positional NFL success spread across an entire unit.
Dang.
When analysts and historians debate the greatest college football defenses of all time, the 2001 Miami Hurricanes are almost always at the top of the conversation, and it's not close for most of them. Not because of a gimmick or a single dominant season stat. It's because of the sheer, overwhelming density of talent that has never been replicated on one defensive roster at one time in one season. It wasn't a competitive national championship game. It was an execution. And when the final whistle blew, Miami had finished the season a perfect 12-0, capped off with arguably the most dominant championship game defensive performance of the entire BCS era. So when people ask what the scariest defense in college football history looked like, the answer isn't really a scheme or a coach or even a single dominant player. It's a roster full of players who weren't just good enough to win a national championship. They were good enough to go be legends at the next level, too. The 2001 Miami Hurricanes didn't just have a great defense. They had a defense that NFL scouting departments are still, in some ways, trying to figure out how to build again.
Sheesh. Hey, man. Y'all let me know how y'all feel, man. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe, man. See y'all next video.